You are now being recorded. All right. So we're going to get into the needs analysis in a couple of seconds. Before we do that, helpful hints of advice. You all have a field journal sitting right next to you, correct?
You mean like a notebook? Is a field journal different from a notebook?
Sure. Whatever. No, it's the same thing, man.
Okay.
Whatever you want to call it.
Got it.
I'm just trying to get everyone on here. There's 10 of us, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I got all 10 of you on my screen. Awesome. I can see all 10 of you now. Always have a field journal on you or a notebook, whatever it is, to take notes on everything. Like when you do a rapport in the beginning, when you get to this stage, you should not need to ask what the person's spouse name and what their kids' names are. You should already have it written down. It means you care more. So when you get here, you're like, no, how did I spell? Look at this. How did I spell Jocelyn? Obviously, I spelled it wrong. Oh, we lost her. She might come back. We're going to keep going. How do you spell this? Like you already know the names. It's just filling in the little bits of information you didn't get. But if you sit down with someone and you do a good rapport in the beginning, and Brenna, I find out your spouse's name is whatever it is, and I get to the point where I'm saying, what was that name again? You're going to be like, this guy doesn't give a shit. So that's not what I do. Write everything down. Everything that you think is important, write down right here. And everything you don't think is important, write that down still for a couple of months. It's going to help you out. Have that next to you, all right? And my, Sonia, I mean, not Sonia. I'd like for that lady to jump back on if she can. It's all right. It's being recorded if she can. Okay. So in my opinion, the needs analysis starts right after you do the general sponsorship program, and you say, what we're going to do now is examine the important reasons why people obtain coverage during different stages of their lives. Boom, you press the button. And then you go through the insurance video. At the end of the insurance video, this pops up, okay? This page right here. The first part here, AIL Plus Health Services Discount Card. You've already done this no cost benefit with them. You've got it set up on their phone. This is the email they're going to send it to. This is just having their information in. It will not let you move beyond this page unless you have a proper email address, a proper phone number, their proper address, and everything filled out. Obviously, I put fake crap in. We're in training mode. That's okay. But when you're doing the real thing, you want to put their actual stuff in because that's where they're sending the group ID, the username, and all that stuff for that benefit. So that all has to be filled out, okay? Then you all have your scripts in front of you. What we say next is, what the hell, after we do that, we say, okay, Will, the reason why I sit down with each family separately, Steele, is because each family's needs and wants are different. So Jamalis, that means the family I sat down with before had different needs and wants. Brenda, the family I'm sitting down with after, has different needs as well. So Sandra, what I do is we customize a program, Rodrigo, to meet your family's exact needs, right? So Lori, I do have a few questions to see what you may qualify for, and Allie, what those needs may be, okay? And then boom, I just said the word needs 1,000 times. So if you didn't know before, you're now in the needs analysis. And now I'm filling out their family's information here. And I should already have most of that information written down. So now I'm just doing a little bit extra chit chat and talking, rapport, filling that in. And we get to the next part, which starts looking like what? What do these look like?
Health questions.
Yeah. So this is why I have you practice it with this, because that prompts you to say the next paragraph before you even know it. Here comes Jocelyn. We're letting her back in. Which is, you know, Rodrigo, there are two things you need to qualify for any of these programs. One being you are a member of the Electrical Workers 45 and that you're in fairly good health. Or, Lori, there are two things you need to qualify for any of these programs. One being that your cousin Rodrigo, who's part of the Electrical Workers 45, has referred you to them and that you're in fairly good health. Brenna, there are two things you need to qualify for any of these programs. In this case, you have been sponsored through the Child Safe program and you're in fairly good health. Sandra, there are two things you need to qualify for any of these programs. One being you have been sponsored through our WillKit program and that you're in fairly good health. So whatever the reason you're there with them, that's your number one reason that qualifies them, right? You're not going to say every time, if I'm in a Child Safe presentation, I'm like, you have to be part of a union. Nope, because that's not what we're doing. You've been have access to these because you've been sponsored the Child Safe. But the second one is always you're in fairly good health. Does that make sense with people?
Yeah.
Okay, so then you get into the health questions. It's pretty straightforward. You don't want to ask them in a leading way that makes them want to give you the answer that would be better for this. What that means is simply, Will, have you or your spouse or your child had any internal cancer in the past 2 years, whether it's breast, colon, pancreatic, uterine, any form of cancer?
No,
No. Steele, have you, your spouse, your child, are any of you insulin diabetics?
No,
Jamalis, you, your spouse, your child, do you, any of you have any cardiovascular disease issues?
No.
No, okay. And you will have some people who do tell you to extend that now to the family. Like after you ask some of these questions, say, now, Sandra, do any of these ailments like affect your family at all? Your father, mother, uncles?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And you can get a little bit more in depth, like what is it, which one? You know, if breast cancer is a common thing in someone's family, it's a time to let them know, okay, so this is something that, you know, is in your genetics. It could be something that affects you. So it is important that we have this conversation right now before something like that does affect you, right? It's a way to push that urgency out even more for them, okay? Brenna, do you, your spouse, your child, any of you currently using supplemental oxygen?
Nope.
No. Rodrigo, do you, your spouse, your child, any of you have a terminal illness?
no,
No. Lori, do you or your spouse have Alzheimer's?
Not that I can recall.
Exactly. You're going to hear that a lot. And if that's the rapport you build with people throughout it, let them make the joke and respond
Yeah.
in kind. Ha 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 ha. Perfect. Sorry, you're going to hear it a million times. It's okay. That's why I put the word supplemental oxygen, not just oxygen, because you're going to have people every day. Cool. Awesome. I did. Jocelyn, have you or your spouse, you never asked for anyone under 18? You or your spouse use any form of tobacco in the last 12 months? And again, I qualify it. Cigarettes, cigars, nicotine patches, chews, sniff, electronic cigarettes, any vaporizers, any form of nicotine or tobacco?
No.
No. Yeah, Rodrigo, go ahead.
What happen if they say, no, I don't smoke, but I just have a couple of cigarettes once in a while with a drink?
Perfect. Then you smoke. So now you're a smoker. The question is, use tobacco in the last 12 months.
Yeah.
Because you're a smoker. It is what it is. It doesn't exclude you from it. It just means your policy might be a little bit more expensive. Yeah, I don't recommend trying to skirt your way around it. Now, someone literally said to me, yes, I quit 11 months ago and I'm never going to smoke again. Maybe I do the benefit of like, awesome. Or maybe I say, let's get you locked in today. And in 1 month, we can look at that and see if we can lower that rate for you. But I kind of just answered the question there. Okay. I mean, answer what it is. So I've gone through these. Exclude from application. Don't worry about that right this very second. Moving on here. Will, you or your spouse, are you currently on probation or parole?
no,
No. And Steele, have you or your spouse ever been arrested or convicted of a DUI?
no,
Okay. So exclude from application. What do you think that means for people?
If they're terminally ill or, you know, there's something like a red flag immediately that you know they won't get approved for coverage.
Absolutely. So there are things right here that we can't insure them. If they've had cancer in the last 2 years, we can't insure them. If they have any cardiovascular disease, depending on what it was and when it was, we can't insure them. Some of it we can. We'll have underwriting sheets for you for that. If they're on supplemental oxygen, they're uninsurable right now. If they have a terminal illness or Alzheimer's, uninsurable right now. If they're currently on probation or parole, uninsurable right now. Now, if they've been arrested or convicted of a DUI, we can still insure them depending on when it was, how many of them they were, and if they still drink. If they're an insulin diabetic, we can still insure them right now depending on what other compounding ailments they might have, right? So those don't exclude them. But if I sit down with you, Will, and you have a spouse and you have a terminal illness, I can't get you insurance, but with all the grace in the world, Will, I'm sorry that's something that affects you right now. I know this is important to you and your spouse and your kids. So I definitely want you to be a part of it, but it is important that we talk about what we can get set up for your spouse and your kids and how we can get something in place for your family. Believe me, people who cannot get insurance are the ones who generally want it more, but also they have the sympathy in their heart to want to give it to other people more. So use that as an advantage for them to help more people. Okay? But you can gracefully, yeah, go ahead, Brenna.
My question was, so when we went over this with Laura, she told us that just what is listed, if they have anything that is listed, so for instance, it says internal cancer, breast, colon, urine, whatever, just what is listed, if they have that to check the boxes, but if it's not listed, not to worry about it.
Okay.
So is that, but what if they, I mean, there's a million cancers, right?
There are. There are.
So,
If I ask, have you had any form of cancer in the past 2 years other than like skin cancer? And they say yes, I check it because I'm not going to be able to get
Yeah.
them insured.
okay. That was, yeah, I
I mean,
thought that was
later on in the super combo, we have more health questions that can also make someone uninsurable. But as of right now, these are like upfront. I'm not building hope in you today that I can insure you, but I am using that as urgency for other people in your life. Good question. Are there any questions about going through these?
No.
Okay, so ask them again, non-leading way, get through them. Here you go. You get into the income protection, right? So again, I tell you to study your script and practice it with this because 6 of the 7 questions of the needs analysis, they're right in front of you.
Can you list the 7 in order? I want to write that down.
You have them in your script, but they're right here. What's your monthly take-home pay after taxes? How much life insurance do you have through work? More importantly, how much life insurance do you own outside of work? Do you rent or do you own your home? Do you have a separate policy to protect that rent or mortgage? What do you have in place for your final expenses? Do you bank locally with a checking or savings account? Are those the 7 in your script?
They're not numbered here. Oh,
Those
they
are
are
the 7.
numbered. My bad.
Those are the 7 seared into my brain.
I have it on note cards and I only ever use a note card. So, but I'll
That's
write it
okay,
down
man.
like that.
You don't need them numbered because guess what? They're right in front of you on the screen.
Yeah.
I need the
They're in
number
order, too.
so when you ask me what number 4 is, I can answer you.
Perfect. Well, you have your script for that. And apparently you have it all memorized because you're a 10 out of 10. Cool. So now I'm getting into financial questions, right? And I tell people this and I slow down because I do want you to write this down. All right. You are going to have people at some point say, oh, I just don't think I can afford this and bring up some sort of money issue, right? I take care of that objection or 99% of that objection right here, right now, before I even get to a number. Because this is what I say to them and I'll say it slow, but this is recorded and I can send it out to you so you can go back and listen to it. But I say this, Steele, Sandra, I do have some financial questions that I do want to go over with you right now. And that's only because it is never, and I touch my chest, it's never in my business to ever hurt a family. I'm only here to help you as much as I can. So I do have some financial questions because if there is a program that does make sense, I guarantee it's something that you will be able to afford and that we can fit within a financial budget for you. I literally just tell them, you will be able to afford whatever the hell I tell you, and it will fit comfortably in your budget because it will, if they learn how to budget correctly. I tell them that before I do any financial questions. It works out pretty well. Okay, question 1, Will, what's your monthly take-home pay after taxes? And I'm going to go through each question a little slow, one at a time. And then at the end, I'm actually going to do a needs analysis for you in the flow of what it looks like.
$10,000.
What was that?
$10,000.
$10,000. All right. When I click in this box, what does it say?
0.
No, there's a little gray box. When I click out of it, what does it say?
Cannot be less than 1,000.
Can't be less than 1,000. And what does this say?
Cannot be greater than 10K.
Yeah, it'd be great. So, yep, you have to put something between 1 and 10,000, right? If they make 12,000, great, put 10,000 in. Now, if they make like $700, $800, $900, I'll tell you to put 1,000 in, because we do have products that they still can't afford. The first product that our computer systems tell them that we recommend is our freedom of choice final expense whole life coverage, right? It is not our most affordable coverage for certain things. We do have products that we can get you covered for less than that freedom of choice, but make sure they can still afford it. If they're making $600, but the bills are 2,000, no, it's crazy to try and sell this person life insurance. It's more efficient to try and help them get out of their own financial way. But if they are still saving money and they're right around that $800, $900, I put the 1,000 in and I look at a different product for them later on, and you'll learn about that in your products class and those other things, right? But yeah, minimum 1,000, maximum 10,000. Okay, so Will's coming out saying he makes 10,000 a month. So remember that, people, when we do this later. So 10,000 for you, perfect. And Steele, what's your monthly take-home pay after taxes?
5,000.
5,000. All right,
I love being married to you, Steele.
perfect. 5,000. So it sounds like the two of you together, you're bringing in about $15,000 a month.
Yep.
Perfect. And I write these numbers down in my journal because sometimes I'm sitting down in front of people and I want them to see what I'm doing, because I'm not sharing the screen with them if I'm in their home. So I want them to actually see what I'm doing as well. Okay. Are there any questions about question number 1? Very simple. How much do you make after tax? Sometimes you have to help them out. Like, oh, geez, I don't know. I get paid bi-weekly. Awesome. We'll multiply it by 2. What's your check bi-weekly? Like, you got to do a little work here and there. Okay. Question number 2. Brenna, how much life insurance do you currently have through your work?
0.
20,000, perfect. Put it there, write it down. And Sandra, how much life insurance do you currently have through your work? Sandra, how much life insurance do you currently have through your work? Sandra, does your microphone work? Okay, 15,000, perfect. Awesome, I put them in there. And then it tells you right in here, Rodrigo, that's great that you have that, but like I was telling you before, that is a group policy that your work owns and controls, right? So not if, but when you are laid off or when you're downsized, when you decide to change jobs or when you retire, that's a policy that's going to stay with that company. It's great that they give it to you, but statistically it pays out 1% or less of the time, because most people don't die on the job at work. Most people die later on in life outside of work. So the important life insurance you do have is what you personally own and control outside of work. And I just put it right back to 0 in their face. And on my book, I scribble out the numbers, X them out right in my face. Just kill it right then and there. Why do you think that is?
Why do you?
So they can,
Go ahead, Jamilis.
Jamilis, so they
Jamilis.
can see that it doesn't really cover them, doesn't count.
Okay. I mean, it still counts if they die when they have the job and it covers them. Rodrigo, go ahead.
No. It's like make them to see that this is just temporary, and this is after everything that you said happens. They have left nothing. So
Absolutely.
to understand that right now they are in risk. No?
Yeah, it's temporary. I mean, if you do die at work, it should pay out based on the conditions of it. But let me ask you this, 9 people sitting in front of me, what were the 9 of you doing 5 months ago? Were you doing a different job?
Yes.
How's the job market these days for a lot of people?
Oh,
it
it's good for a lot of people, yeah.
It's great for us, but for a lot of industries, it's not great. So, Allie, if I sit down with you and you're, busting your ass off in a restaurant and you got benefits through them, and I sit down with you and your family and you tell me you got $300,000 in life insurance through your work, and I'm like, awesome, great, you're all set. And then your restaurant shuts down because a COVID outbreak happens and you no longer have your job, did I help your family?
Nope.
Didn't,
I don't
no.
put my faith in anything that anyone else tells me I can and can't have. My faith solely lies in what I personally have and control on my own, because no one else can take it away from me. It's my decision. So I'm not helping your family out. Raise your hand if all of you still have if you still have all of your benefits from the last job you had. Right? So I don't put stock in work insurance. And I also don't hope people die before they retire. I hope they're going to get out of work, enjoy some of retirement life, and still have something in place to protect their assets and their final expenses and leave behind for their families. So I believe in insurance that you personally own and control because it makes the most sense to me. So I don't count anything they have through their work. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And whether they have insurance or not, Brenna, I only said you did, even though you said zero, is I will still say, no, Brenna, if you ever do find a position where they do give you benefits, it's still important to remember that you will lose them. Like, so even if they have zero, I go through the whole, when you do leave that job, when you retire, this or the other, you will not keep them. And they will only pay out 1% of the time. So it's important to do whether they have insurance through work or not. Okay? Any questions about question number 2? All right. So the end of that is, so the important life insurance you do have is what you own and control outside of work. So, Jocelyn, how much life insurance do you own and control outside of work?
10,000.
10,000? Perfect. And Lori, how much life insurance do you own and control outside of work?
5,000.
5,000. Okay. Put them in here. Take your little script, scribble out where it says, is that whole life or term life? Don't ask that question. I don't want you to. And I don't want you to, because if you have, whole life here through another company, does anyone know legally how long it can take for that insurance to pay out to a family?
6 months.
6 months. Does anyone know how long it takes our policies to pay out to the hardworking families we work with?
1 month or less?
28 hours?
1 to 2 days from when we get the call from a funeral home, right? 1 to 2 days. So there's three sets of boxes here. The whole life box deals with our whole life freedom of choice, right? The term life box deals with our income protection we're looking at. And down here, the mortgage, this box deals with our mortgage or rent protection, okay? So anyone between the ages of 18 and 59, in these boxes, if they can afford it, it's gonna recommend $30,000 in whole life, okay? So if I put $10,000 in this box, how much is it gonna recommend this person to get in whole life insurance?
20.
20,000.
20,000, okay? I don't want to guarantee that the insurance they have through another company is going to be there for their family when they need it most. I know our company's policies are going to be there for it. That is the guarantee. So I leave this box as empty and as often as I can be. That's why I do not ask them, is that whole life or term life? I don't want them to say 10,000 whole life, then watch me put it in term life. And now we have I've caused a problem we didn't need to have, right? And Lori, if I say, how much life insurance do you have? And you say, oh, I've got 50,000 in whole life and 200,000 in term life. Awesome. I stop sharing my screen and I put $250,000 in term life.
Okay.
Again, I'm going to avoid that. Now, the thing is, I still count it because they still have it, right? It's still there to protect their income, because at some point that insurance is going to come in and it's going to help them with their bills. It's just not going to help them right up front. So I do count it in the income protection box, because let's say it would normally recommend this person $100,000. How much is going to recommend them now? Because I put 10,000 in here.
No, 90.
90. Yep, 90,000, absolutely. So because they already had that 10,000 in place for their income, right? Does that make sense? I still count it. It's theirs. Good job. I'm glad you have something in place. That's awesome. And you put it there and you kind of work your way through it. Now, I found out how much insurance they have what does it tell you is a little acronym. What does it tell me to do with them in question 3 of our needs analysis?
Fit.
SIT, thank you. What does SIT stand for?
Spend it, itemize it, timeline.
Deal, absolutely. Spend it, itemize it, timeline. So first I want to spend this. I want to figure out how I'm spending it by itemizing their bills. And I want to do a timeline of their bills compared to the insurance they have, right? So I think it asks you in your script, if you were to die today, how would your family need to use this money? Okay. I want you to ask a little bit more of a specific question. All right. Steele, if you were to die today, apart from final expenses, what bills would your family need to use this money for? It's a very direct question.
Okay, I was thinking it was kind of a trick question, but final expenses, just like funeral expenses.
Okay, so Steele, apart from final expenses, if you were to die today, what bills would your family need to spend this money on?
Mortgage, regular bills, phone bill, anything like that.
Okay, so your month-to-month finances? Perfect. Let's go over those together. Now I'm gonna itemize it. I was taught this by Ryan Hall. You can do this. 5 categories you want to break their bills down by. Category 1, write this down. Utilities, heat, hot water, electricity, gas, all that good stuff. Number 2, communications. Cell phone, cable, Netflix, Prime, Hulu, internet, all that good stuff. 3, cars and car insurance. 4, food and groceries. 5, miscellaneous. So things that you don't budget for on a weekly basis, but you know you're spending money towards. Hair, nails, coffee, wine, scratch tickets, cigarettes. You go to you like to go to the movies 4 times a week. Like all them, you bought a new coat with all the miscellaneous stuff that you don't budget for. Okay. So now I break them down. And remember, please, for the sake of making my job at least a little bit hard, don't base it on your personal bills right now, unless your personal bills are on the higher end for these things. Base it on this couple who's bringing in $15,000 a month.
What was number 1?
Utilities,
Thank you.
heat, hot water, all that good stuff. Okay. So Rodrigo, and I'm writing these down. So Rodrigo, on a monthly basis, what do your family's utilities come to? That heat, hot water, electricity, everything together? Do you pay them separately? Do you have like a heat bill, electric bill, hot water bill?
No, usually I'm renting, so I pay them as a total.
Okay.
So,
What
300.
do all of your utilities come to on a monthly basis? And remember, you are a family that is bringing in $15,000 a month.
Okay. $1,000.
$1,000, okay. Lori, as far as like cell phones, internet, communications, what does your family spend on a monthly basis for all of that stuff?
$700.
$700, great. Allie, for you and your spouse and your family, for cars and car insurance, what are your car bills every month?
Like my car insurance?
Yeah, how much, do you own your car outright or do you still pay towards it?
I own it.
Perfect. How about your spouse? Do they still pay towards it or own it outright?
No, they own their car too.
Awesome. What do you guys pay in car insurance every single month together?
500.
500, perfect. Does anyone here have like a family with kids?
I have a kid.
Okay,
We're close.
we'll try with you, Will. Food and groceries on a monthly basis. How much does your family spend on food and groceries?
$400.
On a monthly basis?
$600.
Okay. All right, I spend that in almost like a week by myself, but that's okay. Different families are different things. Rodrigo, go ahead.
No. I was saying, I have two, and it's like, I don't know, 1,200 at least.
No offense, well, we're gonna go with the 1,200 on this one. Okay, again, each family is different, but for the sake of I'm working with a $15,000 a month family, I at least want to make some challenge in this for myself. It's still, I'm not gonna get there. And 5, Jamelis, when it comes to things you don't budget for on a weekly basis, your whole family together, how much are you spending on a weekly basis? Is it $50, $80, $200 a week on things you don't budget for?
I'd say 1,000.
1,000 a week?
Yeah.
So 4,000 a month on things you don't budget for?
Yes.
1,000, okay, there you go. 4,000 a month on things you don't budget for, great. And in all honesty, people, that miscellaneous bill, that is where I'm gonna be finding my affordability of their premium from, okay? So again, you guys have made it very easy. I mean, Jamali's tried to make it hard there at the end, but it's okay. So now I'm adding up their bills, and I might ask them, hey, oh, Sandra left. Sandra's coming back. People keep dropping out of this thing. Am I missing any like outstanding bills there that you have, like alimony from someone else, this, that, like you've got $40,000 in credit card debt? You like, am I missing anything there?
Student loan bill, 300 a month.
Okay, so again, if they have it, I'm adding to it. But like, and I can add that to it, that's fine. Steele, are you a single gentleman?
Yes,
You have kids?
no,
Okay, so when I do your needs analysis, there will be something here that says student loans, car loans, like it'll be different for you. That's why I said practice this with single people like that as well. So you see all the different parts of it. All right, so I add this up. I got my 1,000 plus my 700 plus my 500 plus my 1,200 plus my 4,000. 7,400, awesome. So not even half of what they're bringing in. So at this point, I'm laughing. I know they're saving thousands of dollars a month. This is easiest policy I'm ever gonna write. But that's okay, because they need it. So I do a timeline. Okay, so we're looking at $7,400 times the 12. So $88,800 a year this family's spending on those bills. Now, Lori, you've got 10,000 in place here. That tells me you've got about a month and a half's worth of protection for your family from those bills. After that month and a half, what do you have in place to protect your family?
I think we're gonna be in trouble.
Okay, it's okay. You have something in place. So you thought ahead a little bit. Lori, that's okay. And now this is when you promote yourself, right? Lori, that's exactly why your Iron Workers Union asked me to sit down with your family, right? I'm a licensed professional. Feel free to say that as much as you want. I'm a licensed professional. It's my job to help you out wherever I can to find this benefit for your family, okay? Same thing with the other one, 5,000. Great, you have less than a month's worth of coverage. What do you have in place after that? Nothing? That's okay. That's exactly why we go over this with the sponsored families through the Child Safe. If there's anything I can do to help protect and help your family, that's my job. I'm here to help you every step of the way. Again, promote yourself, right? And people here who have kids, who has kids? Jamelis, let me ask you, unmute yourself. How old are your children?
He's 2.
He's 2. Okay. So let's say I just did a timeline and it came to 10 years. And we're like, 10 years, yeah, protected for 10 years, pretty good. I'm still going to ask you, what do you have in place after that?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay. The reason I do that is, stop muting yourself. I'm still talking to you. Okay, ready? So you have 10 years of coverage in place, and you'd be like, yeah, that's a lot. I've got you covered for 10 years. Awesome. Was it your goal to protect your child until he was 12 years old?
No.
How long would you want to?
At least 21.
Okay. So, that's exactly why I'm here. If there's something that does make sense to you, I will absolutely make sure we'll find something that works, okay?
Thank you.
Families don't want to protect their kids for a finite amount of time, or if you have 11 years of insurance, but you can afford 12, I'm getting you that 12th year because you want it there to protect your family. I don't care how much you have in place already. Come at me with $2 million in life insurance. I'll kill it. Great. What do you have in place after that? you can afford more. Are you saying that's the end of the line where you choose, I no longer care about my family after this line? Sure, if that's your plan, that's your plan. I'm here to let you know, there's another plan though. Another option for you. Okay, any question about question number 3?
Nope.
Spend it, itemize it, timeline it, put it in the term life box. Awesome. Question number 4. Let me ask this right now. Does anyone own their home? Do you all rent? Sandra, you own your home? Sandra, I can't hear you. How's our mic working? That's all right, Sandra. I was going to include you. You're still included. I'm probably not going to ask you questions because I can't hear you. Lori, you said you have a home? You don't rent?
I used to, we rent now.
Okay.
We moved to Portland.
Jamelis, you own your home?
Yeah, but as of last month, so.
That's okay. So this is my question for you. Jamelis, do you rent or do you own your own home?
Own.
You own, okay, so your mortgage is paid off?
No.
Oh, okay, you still have a mortgage. I make him feel a little bit stupid there because it's a very important question. Yes, what you own is a chunk of debt right now. Like someday you may own that entire thing, and I hope you do. I think you will. But right now you own a giant chunk of debt that you are going to pass on to your family if something happens to you. And that little question is like, oh yeah, crap. And again, this can be, you can lie to me. How much do you have left to pay on that mortgage?
500.
500,000?
Yes.
And do you have a normal interest rate of 4%? Did you get lucky? Is it in the threes?
3.2.
3.2, awesome job. And you just got it, so you have 29 years left. You still have 30 years left.
Yeah, 30.
30
29
years.
and
Congratulations on your new home.
thank you.
I hope it stays in your family for a long time.
Thank you.
Let's make sure it does. Awesome. So I collect that. Now, don't get me wrong. If they rent, that's okay. Does anyone on here rent that has a family? Let's answer these questions with voices, people. Does
No.
anyone here
No.
rent that has a family? Yes?
Yes.
Awesome. Will, you rent and you have a family, right?
No, I don't have a family. I rent.
I thought you said you had a kid.
I do, but she primarily lives with her mom, so and it's not like I really care for her all the time. So.
You probably care for her all the time. You just might not be in charge of taking care for her the whole
Yeah,
time.
naturally. Yeah.
Rodrigo, you live with your family in a rented place?
No.
No, I know your situation. Does
Yeah.
anyone live with their family and they rent? Sorry, I should have been way more specific with that question.
Yes.
Lori, congratulations. You qualify for this question. Lori, if you died tomorrow, would you want your family, if they couldn't afford it, to have to move out of that apartment?
No.
You'd still, because even though you don't own the house or it's still where you and your family live. It's your home.
Exactly.
So even if they rent, we can still protect that. You don't do it with rent. You just click to own. And the way I would do that is you make a decision, like how long do we want to protect it? Let's say, Lori, you pay $2,000 a month in rent. Great. That's what's math, $24,000 a year. Great. We can protect that for 5 years for $120,000. So God forbid you do die, your family can live in that apartment without having to worry about that big bill of rent for 5 years. Or you can do 10 years, whatever they want to take a look at. You would just do the 120,000 for 10 years type thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it sure does.
Now, don't get me wrong. And this should be a lot easier question because a lot of you didn't raise your hands before. Is anyone single who rents and doesn't have dependents?
Me.
Perfect. Brenna.
Yes.
I'm probably not going to offer you rent or mortgage protection right now. Because in all honesty, it will be devastating to a group of people when you die, but your landlord will find someone else to move in.
Yep.
You don't need to protect that landlord, right? That doesn't mean you're not going to get your own place. You're not going to have kids. It might make sense to you in the future. And if financially, those are like your plans that you want, and financially it makes sense to get something in place now so you save yourself money throughout. Awesome. I'll take a look at it, but it's not my goal to be like, all right, we need rent protection for you because Because
What about vacation properties
if
or
you
like
own,
second properties?
are you saying if you own them?
Yeah,
Sure. I mean, you can get in, if you qualify, you can get insurance to pay off your properties. So if those turn into assets you give to someone in your family, they don't have to take on the bill. It's already paid for and they can either keep it or sell it. Sure. You can absolutely do that. Good question. But yeah, I mean, not the products we sell are not always in the right moment for every person. I'm not going to sit down with every person and get them final expense, income, and mortgage. Because some people don't need the mortgage. Some people don't need the income. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Any questions about question number 4? Okay. In this case, I would do a re-timeline back to question number 3. I mean, 10,000 to 5,000, that's not going to take a big chunk out of this. Let's say you had, 200,000 already in insurance. And I didn't go over that earlier. So your timeline on this was like 2.5 years of coverage. I could say now, question 5, do you have a separate life insurance policy to help pay off that mortgage or that rent if you were to die? Or would X, Y, or Z have to take over those payments or be in charge of that? And if you say no, I said, well, you do have 200,000 in place. Would you want to allot any of that to go straight towards the principal on your mortgage or this or that or the other? As to lower those monthly expenses. And if you did, let's say you wanted to do half of it, I would just lower this to 100,000 and I would take 100,000 off of here, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
And then I would redo the timeline. Okay, if we do that, you don't actually have 2.5 years. It looks like you only have about 14 months of coverage. What do you have in place after that? Because if they have something in place, they can always use it for that. I mean, in the case we were originally, it was whatever it was, 10,000 and 5,000. But where we're at right now, if it was more, some people would want to allot some directly to those payments. Okay. Now, why do you think I asked them, do you have a separate life insurance policy in question number 5?
Because you want to sell them a decreasing term mortgage protection policy.
Sure. Yeah, specifically, it's a different product to cover a different part of your life. I don't need to sell you a permanent product for a house that you're not permanently going to need to pay for. Because if you ever own it someday, you don't need the insurance behind paying for that mortgage you took out.
And you
Right.
would explain to them that since the face value is decreasing, that lowers the premiums, right? That's a good selling point for the mortgage protection.
Sure. I mean, the premium stays the exact same for the 30 years. It doesn't decrease.
No, but it's lower than if it was a set face value. So they're saving there.
Depends on the product you're giving them. Some of our set base values are lower than the decreasing term. It all depends on how you choose to insure that based on their budget. A lot of people insure that with accidental. So if you die young, generally from an accident, it's a lot more affordable than say a $200 mortgage bill if you get 200,000 for 16 bucks.
That's
Again, that'll be in a rates and products class. You can talk about that with your direct managers on how they want to go about you protecting certain gaps in people's coverage, for sure. But it's a different product. I'm not going to give you $400,000 in whole life, permanent protection forever on your house, because at some point you don't need that coverage there. So I say, do you have a separate life insurance policy? Because it gets them thinking, crap, why do I need something else? Oh, because it's a different part of my life that still I need to insure. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And if they do have something, yeah, I've got 100,000. Awesome. Yes, 100,000. Put it in there. Done. Move on. Right? Now, question 6 is not on here. It's the only question not on here. But it's very, very important to ask. It's our question about our freedom of choice and final expenses, right? Jocelyn, if you were to die today, what do you have in place to cover your final expenses and funeral costs? Or would your spouse need to come up with that money on their own?
30,000 in place.
You have 30,000 in place. Now, is that in your bank account?
Yes.
Okay, I got some great news for you. So let me, you have $30,000 sitting in a bank account just for your funeral?
And other expenses.
Oh, other expenses, okay. What are those other expenses?
Like in case of an emergency.
Okay, awesome. I got some great news for you. Especially since you have a dedicated account just for like emergency money and funeral money. I've got some awesome news for you. That $30,000 is only going to go $30,000, right? Some of these programs they're going to make sense to you. You can allot a small portion of that and actually have an instant value of much more than that, right? So if you do have it in mind for those funeral costs, again, we can get you a lot more set in place for your family, and you can use some of that money you have saved up to add value to your life right now, right? The more they have in savings, the happier I get. I'm more excited. Awesome, man. Steele, you've got $50,000 sitting there for when you die. That's great. I can turn that, we can turn that 50,000 into so much more for you and your family. And you don't even have to worry about a payment anymore. You already have a bank account that a little bit every month, you can turn that 50,000 into $250,000. Let's take a look at this for you, right? People who literally have money in place for their funeral, I love it. Because when they say, I have this amount, awesome. What would you say if I could quadruple that and you don't have to do anything? Just let it come out of that account. They're all going to be very happy when I explain that to them, right? And if they say nothing, that's okay. You know, Allie, that's exactly why I'm here. I'm a licensed professional. If there's anything we can help you and your family out with today, that's exactly what I'm going to make sure I go out of my way to do for you. Okay? Does that make sense with question number 6?
Yes.
Most people might have a bank account with money in it. It's not usually there for their funeral. It's usually there for saving up for a house, saving up for a car, going on vacation, like that type of thing, right? Awesome. I'd hate to take that away from your family if you die unexpectedly and now they have zero there. Where we can take a look at some of these programs that will make sense to you, allot just a little bit of that to be worth the same value you're looking for, and you have all that extra money to add value to your life right now. Doesn't that sound better? Cool.
Absolutely.
Child's education, I was taught this, just put $1 million in there. Put $1 million. It's not in your script. It comes up with a different product. It's a 20-year set term. I was told the company's not like super excited for us to go out there and try and sell it. It's not something you've studied. If you go over it individually with your managers and they want you to incorporate that into the products you're providing people, awesome. Do an individual workshop with them. I'm just told put $1 million in that so it doesn't pop up and it doesn't play the videos when you're not prepared for it because it's not part of your script. Sound fair? Cool. Question 6. Lori, do you do your banking with a checking or savings account?
Sure do.
Local credit union checking? Yeah, okay, perfect. Why do you think I asked that question?
Because in order to have the client purchase, this is required.
No, it's not, but that's okay. I mean, people can do a money order, people, right? But I don't
okay.
trust my business to someone going out of their way to pay me every single month. I don't. When it comes to me writing business, you need a routing number and you need some sort of account number. Number one, I'm saving you 9% a month on your bill. So I'm doing you a big favor. And number two, I'm not going to trust someone putting cash in an envelope and slipping it to me every month. That's my retirement. But more importantly, that's what needs to be there for them to protect their family. Just as much I don't trust your work to take care of you. I'm not asking you to do all that work on a monthly basis. Nope, let's get it set up to a checking and banking account. Now, I'm not picking on you, Lori. I'm not picking on your Brenna or Jocelyn. You're up in Maine. I'll tell you, I find this a little bit more with people from Maine. I don't have a bank account. I don't want the government seeing what I have for all my money. Awesome. I don't want them seeing it either. But if these programs make sense for you, let's do this. Whatever we find that it's going to be, let's put that amount in a bank account and you can hide the rest under your pillow or under your willow tree out back. Great. But let's put this in there so we can get your family protected today. And I'll go on the computer. Where do you live? Oh, you live in Lowell? Perfect. There are 6 banks right around you in Lowell right now. Look, this bank is giving away a toaster if you sign up to, oh, look at this one. They'll match whatever you put into your checking today and give you an iPad. Why don't we go there and open up that account for you? Like, do some work with them, finding the right place. But I want a bank account because I don't want them writing a check every single month as to they're going to die. Do you want them to think about that every single month when they're writing that check?
No.
I don't either. So I just want it directly right there, boom, painless. It comes right out. Your family's protected every single month. Even if you forget about that envelope in the mail, that's okay. Even if you forget about writing that check, that's great. We made it as easy as we can be for you. And on top of that, we're saving you money. You're welcome. Perfect. Questions on number 7? Yep, go ahead, Jamelis.
I have a question. So if they don't have a banking account, so what would that mean right there at that moment?
I would encourage them to get one.
But in the meantime, like,
Sure, what time of day is it?
I'm sorry?
What time of day is it?
1?
1, perfect, banks are open.
So you wouldn't submit the application until they,
I
get
can't
that?
because I don't have any banking information for them.
Okay.
There's online banks. So even, oh, that's perfect. I know this great online bank. Why don't we take 15 minutes? We can get you, you can transfer some or whatever. I mean, in that case, I guess you can't transfer money because you don't have a bank account in the first place, but we can get you started on figuring it out. And so you might not be able to write the application that day, but you can at least get them on the process of being adult with a bank account. That's a good step in anyone's life, I think, personally. That's a good question. I mean, there are ways around it. No, can I write the policy right then and there? No. Unless I want to do a paper application and they go somewhere and write me a money order. Yes, but again, I don't want to trust that. I'd rather them get a bank account set up. Perfect. Let's do a little bit of research together. These are the banks I found around you. These are the benefits that come with them. If you're looking for this, that, or the other, look, I'll give them a call. Oh, yes, I have Jamelis coming in to talk to someone. Perfect. 3 o'clock's fine. I'll do the work for you. And I'll make it as easy as I can for you to transition right into it.
Okay.
I've helped people open bank accounts before. I've driven someone to the bank before to help them out because they didn't have a car. It's okay. They wanted it. They just didn't know why they needed to have a bank account today. Now they do. Good question. Any other questions?
Nope.
All right, so I just went through the 7 questions of the needs analysis. It took us like an hour. So what I'm gonna do now is actually do the needs analysis for you without breaking every single question down, all right? And again, just because these numbers are here doesn't mean we have to use the same numbers, okay? So, Will, the reason why we meet with each family separately, Steele, is because each family's needs and wants are different. Jamelis, you know, the family I sat down with before has different needs and wants, and Brenna, the family I have an appointment with later, will be different as well. So Rodrigo, what we do is we customize a program, Lori, that will meet your family's exact needs. So Allie, I do have a few questions, Jocelyn, to see what you may qualify for, Sandra, and what those needs may be, okay? So I have Anthony, Jocelyn, Amari, age, great, perfect. Here we go. Now, Sandra, there are 2 things that everyone needs to qualify for any of these programs. One being you're sponsored by the Child Safe, the Will Kit, your friend, or in this case, you know, I wouldn't say all of those. In this case, you're part of the Electrical Workers 54, right? And the second, that you have to be in fairly good health. So I do have some questions pertaining to your health. Now, have you, your spouse, or child, Sandra, any of you had any internal cancer in the past 2 years?
No.
No. Jocelyn, you, your spouse, your child, or any of you insulin diabetics?
No.
No. Lori, you, your spouse, your child, do any of you have any cardiovascular disease ailments?
No.
No. Allie, do you, your spouse, your child, or any of you use supplemental oxygen?
No.
Rodrigo, do you, your spouse, your child, do any of you have a terminal illness?
No.
No. Brenna, do you or your spouse have Alzheimer's?
No.
Okay. Jamelis, do you or your spouse, either one of you, use any form of tobacco in the last 12 months, whether that's cigarettes, cigars, even if it's occasionally, sniff, chew, nicotine patches, electronic cigarettes, vaporizers, hookahs with nicotine, any form of nicotine or tobacco?
Yes.
Yes, which one?
Whatever the first person was.
You?
So the primary.
Personally? Perfect. Ooh, I almost excluded them. Now, Steele, are you or your spouse currently on probation or parole?
No,
No. And Will, have you or your spouse ever been arrested or convicted of a DUI?
Yes,
Yes.
not really.
Was that
but-
you or was that your spouse?
My spouse.
Your
She's a
spouse.
drunk.
Okay, that's okay. Everyone's got little things in life. That doesn't mean we're not here to try and help out. Okay, so Steele and Jamilis, I do have some financial questions for you. And that's only because it's never in my interest to hurt a family. I'm only here to help you if I can. So I do have some financial questions because if any of this does make sense to you to protect your family, I'm absolutely going to make sure I find something that you can afford and that will fit comfortably within a budget for you, okay?
Okay.
Awesome. So Steele, what is your monthly take-home pay after taxes right now?
5,000.
5,000, perfect. And Jamilis, what is your monthly take-home pay after taxes right now?
6,000.
6,000. All right. So it sounds like the two of you combined together, you have a family income of just around $11,000. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. Now, Brenna, how much life insurance do you currently have through your work?
Through my job, we have
Yeah.
about 20,000.
20,000, perfect. And Rodrigo, how much life insurance do you currently have through your work?
How much is spouse, no? Yeah, 10,000.
10,000. All right. I like how that changed because you're the spouse, but that's okay. Awesome. Just as a reminder, you two, as we were speaking before, those are policies that your jobs own and control, that they're group programs that you're a part of. So when you are laid off, or when you're downsized, you know, or most importantly, when you decide to retire from that position, those are policies that are going to stay with your job. You're going to lose them. It's good that they give them to you while you're working, but statistically, they pay out 1% or less of the time because, in all honesty, most people don't die while they're working on the job. Most people die later on in life outside of work, right? So the important life insurance that you do have is the life insurance that you personally own and control outside of work. So Lori, let me ask you, as of right now, how much life insurance do you personally own and control outside of work?
Just 10,000.
10,000, awesome. Glad you got something there. And Allie, how much life insurance do you personally own and control outside of work?
I'm gonna say like 30. I can't remember exactly.
Okay, you can't remember exactly. I would recommend that you find that policy to know exactly how much you do have in protection. You know, we don't
Okay.
up in the air if we think it's 30 and it's 10. You know, we're not actually given the exact amount of help we think we are to our family. So
Yeah.
why don't we grab that policy right now and take a look? All right, we grabbed it. How much do you actually currently have right now outside of work personally?
30.
30, it is. Awesome. Perfect. Cool. Now, Lori, let me ask you, if you were to die today, you know, apart from final expenses, what bills would your family need to spend that $10,000 on?
Oh, all of them, all the bills.
So all the bills that kind of pile up on a monthly basis?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I do want to take a couple of minutes right now just to go through those. Again, if there's anything I can find that's going to help your family, I want to take every step of the chance I have to do that. So I do want to talk to you a little bit about that. Let's start with this. Your utilities on a monthly basis, heat, hot water, gas, all that good stuff. What does that come to on a monthly basis for you?
About $200.
$200. All right, awesome. And Jocelyn, when it comes to communication, so, you know, that family cell phone plan you have, your cable, your internet, all that good stuff, how much do you and your family pay on a monthly basis there?
500.
500, awesome. Sandra, is your microphone working?
It is, sorry.
Oh, perfect. No, don't be sorry. I don't want to exclude you if I don't have to.
No, thank you for your patience.
Yeah. So for your cars, do you guys still pay for your cars?
Yes,
Awesome. What are your car payments on a monthly basis?
350.
350, and that's both of them, both you and your spouse?
350 and 250.
350 and 250, awesome. And how about insurance on a monthly basis for those vehicles?
150.
For both
Both
combined? or
combined.
150, oh, both combined, perfect. All right, and moving right, Rodrigo, when it comes to food, groceries, going out to eat on a monthly basis, what do you need to spend for your family on food?
1,200.
1,200, awesome, cool. And as far as, Brenna, as far as, things you don't budget for on a weekly basis, going out an extra couple times, buying an extra jacket, car pops, a tire, all those random things that you don't really budget for that come up. How much do you generally spend on a weekly basis there?
For 300.
So about 1,200 for the month?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Now, are there any other like outstanding bills, Brenna, that I'm kind of missing here for you, for your family on a monthly basis? Whether it's extra sports programs or this or that type of stuff?
That's included in my weekly, not really budgeted for.
Okay,
fund.
perfect. So that's about it. Awesome. Let me add this up for you real quick. We've got the 200, the 500, the cars. What kind of cars do you drive, Sandra?
A Toyota,
Nice. And what's the other one?
a Nissan.
Perfect. So it looks like with those bills coming together, we're looking right around $3,350 a month. So let me just take a look at that. So about 40,200 for the year for those bills right there. So Lori, going back to what we were talking about, you've got about $40,200 a year in bills, right? You got 10,000 in place right now. So it looks like you have just around 3 months of coverage for your family. If you were to die today. Let me ask you, Lori, what do you have in place after that 3 months to help protect your family?
I don't have anything.
Okay, and why is that?
Never really sat down and thought about it.
Lori, that's okay. That's exactly why your labor union has asked me to sit down with you. If there is anything that we can do to help your family, I'm a licensed professional. I'll be here to help you as much as I can, all right?
Thank you.
And Jocelyn, you got $30,000 right now. The bills are right around 40,000 for the year. So you've got just over 10 months, or just around 9 to 10 months of coverage for your family if something were to happen to you today. Now, what do you have in place after those 9 months?
10,000.
You have 10,000?
Yes.
And is that in like a savings account somewhere?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm going to throw that right in there. So you got about 4. So with that combined, you've got about 1 full year's coverage for your family to protect them from those bills. What do you have in place after that?
Nothing.
Okay. And why is that?
I'm young.
You're young. I know. You're so lucky. If you know anything about these programs, the younger you are, the more money you're going to save forever. So I got great news for you. I'm a licensed professional. I'm going to go over some programs with you. I guarantee they're going to make sense to you. And whatever I can do to help you and your family today, I'll make sure I'll do that. Okay?
Thank you.
Perfect. Now, Jamila, do you rent or do you own your home?
Rent.
You rent? Okay. And you live there with your family, correct?
Yeah.
Awesome. Now, what do you have in place if you were to die today to help take care of that rent for your family? Or would your spouse need to take over all those payments on their own?
Yeah, they'll have to take care of those payments on their own.
Would that be kind of a struggle for them? Because you were telling me you both put your income in there. You're both making around the same amount every month. Would that be a struggle for them to do on their own?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I mean, we do have some options that could take a look at that rent and taking care of that and alleviating that burden off of them. If that's something you're interested in protecting your family with, we can take a look at that.
Yeah, I'd like to see what are the options.
What's your rent on a monthly basis?
1,600.
1,600. All right, let's do this. Let's take a look at a small program of just about 10 years. So
Okay.
we'll take a look at 192,000, 10 years for you. Perfect. And you said you had nothing in place right now that if you were to die today, that would take over or help out with that rent?
Yeah, nothing in place.
That's all right. That's exactly why I'm here for. Perfect. And Lori, actually, I already asked you. Steele, if you were to die today, what do you have in place to take care of your final expenses and funeral costs? Or would your spouse have to come up with that money on their own?
My spouse would have to come up with that.
Okay. And Steele, why is that?
We just don't have anything in place right now. We haven't thought about it.
That's okay, man. Again, that's exactly why I'm here. If there's anything I can help you out with, I'll make sure that I go out of my way to help you, okay? And Will, do you do your banking locally with a checking account, a savings account, a credit union?
I don't believe in banks.
You don't believe in banks. Okay, why is that?
The government's trying to track me.
They are. I got good news for you, man. You're already on a computer with a camera. They're already tracking you. But let me talk to you about this. If any of these programs do make sense for you and your family, there's a couple of things that having an account can do for you. Number one, it can make it more affordable. It will make it more affordable for you. We can save you some money right then and there. And more importantly, I'm not asking you to put everything you have in there. That's not what I would ever do. If you believe strongly that you don't want the government knowing how much money you make, that's part of your business for sure. But if these programs do make sense, I am going to have a conversation with you about why it would make sense to put a little bit of it in there to get in place to protect your family.
Okay.
And also watch out for the tax man, because if you're just making money and not paying taxes, they're coming after you. Because if not, the government already knows how much money you make.
I
Sound
guess
good?
you're right.
All right, perfect. There you go. There's the needs analysis in 16 minutes, not the hour and 4 minutes. Does that make sense to people?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes sense to all of you right now. Okay?
Totally
A lot of information. 2 hours from
Right.
now, it's not going to make as much sense to you. Like I'll send you out this video to watch it again. And in all honesty, I could ask one of you to do it right now, and you're not going to do it well, and that's okay. Because what is it going to take for you to get good at this?
Not doing it.
Practice.
Repetition, 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 and practice. So hopefully you took some good notes. Again, I'll send you out this recording. I mean, I got you for another 40 minutes. You're not going anywhere, believe me. If I take my time out of the day to be with you, you're taking your time out of your day to be with me. It's great. But that being said, practice, practice, practice. Practice with your upline. Don't practice with the people in training. They know just jack shit as you know, right? Practice with your managers. That's why we're here. Practice with your MGAs. They'll find time for you, because guess what? The better you do at this job, the better they're doing as someone helping you through it. So they will make time for you. All right. But it's just practice, practice, practice. Twice a day, minute, like before work, after work, do a full presentation, full everything throughout it. Collect fake referrals, collect fake recruits, do a great needs analysis, make it hard on yourself. Don't make it like shit, I got to figure this out. Do good painting pictures, do a good closing question, throw yourself an objection or rebuttal here or there, and fill out a full super combo twice a day. That will make you competent enough to start kicking ass at the end of your training, okay? And from there, it's just repetition, repetition, repetition. Do the same thing in every single house for your first 40 presentations. Why do you think that is?
Maintain the
Sure.
material, and it's the repetition.
Yep.
For me.
Absolutely. And also, we need to cut down on variables. If you do something different in every house and you're not succeeding, well, shit, we're out of luck, because we don't know where you're doing it not the best way in every single house. But if you do it the same way in every single house, it's as simple as sitting down with you and be like, okay, let me listen. Oh, don't say that. Oh, get rid of that. And maybe that like 1 or 2 phrases is the difference between you protecting families or not doing your best job protecting them. So keep it repetitive and consistent in every single house so we can help you be as successful as you can be with the tools we give you right now. Right? Oh, I'm still recording. Let me get rid of this.